Everybody, welcome to Stack Your Points. Thanks for watching and listening. And this is the Friday Q&A segment. So your questions, we answer them, sometimes up to an hour, sometimes it creates its own episode in and of itself. So if you have questions, always feel free to drop them on the YouTube channel or email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. But we hope you enjoy this week's Q&A session. Thanks for watching and listening.
Go.
Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined this week by RJ from the Do You Take Cards channel. RJ, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It is Monday. I am here. I have had a very hectic week and a half, so I am glad this has been a constant in a very ever-changing life right now.
Completely understand. We're joined by Tariq from Reek's Rewards. Tariq, how are you today?
I am good. It is Monday. I am ready to roll.
There we go. And we're joined by Kid from KidCat37 in the Stack Your Points Discord, or Craig, I guess we can call him. Craig, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. I just wrestled down a 2-year-old that fought me for 2.5 hours to go to bed. So it's Monday.
I do not miss those days in any way, shape, or form.
Is that why they call them Terrible Twos?
Yeah.
Terrible Twos
among many things.
I would like to take all of those naps that I did not take at that age and just have them in a bank for me now. That's what I would like.
United Nap Bank coming soon to an Explorer card near you.
There you go.
And Tariq still won't get it.
Damn!
And this is why we invite Craig back, guys.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm sorry, Tariq.
No, you're not. You laugh too hard at it.
I'm sorry.
Just go to the next. Just go to the questions.
All right. Hey, before we go to the questions, my hockey team has the #1 pick this year. I am so happy. That's why we're not in our usual hoodie. All right. We're going to jump into our questions. And our first question comes from Keith, first of a pair. So we're going to have bookend with Keith. Keith asks, what's your Grail card and your Grail sub? And I will turn to Craig for the first one.
Yeah, so I will say my Grail card both have implications that someday I will hopefully, maybe, possibly have money. Right now, it's not looking too great, but it would be either the JP Morgan Reserve, knowing that I'd have to have $10 million in assets with Chase, gaining in a savings account at 0.00001%, or the American Express Centurion card, again, assuming that I can spend a couple of $100,000 a year with American Express, both of which nowhere near in sight. Grail sub, we were talking about this in the Discord earlier. I didn't think that it would be worthwhile, but we have some home repairs that need to happen because we found out we don't have a subfloor in our kitchen, so that's fun. Yeah. And our dishwasher, my foot just went right through the floor. And I was like, oh, what is this? Water damage. Love that. So the American Express Business Platinum for $250K.
Yeah, nope. Home renovations are a quick way to knock out those subs because also money in this economy. Are you crazy?
I think I might be.
It's fair. RJ, do you have a Grail card or a Grail sub?
I don't know if I do. Other than Craig's, I have money to burn through and these banks will give me these sort of luxury cards. I don't think I have a Grail. I think it's hard. I think it's difficult when you get established into credit cards, unless it's something like the US Bank Altitude Reserve, right? That is a difficult card to get because US Bank is particularly picky about handing that out. And right now you can't get it via normal means, right? So something like that, perhaps, but not super really. As far as Grail subs, if Amex ever did 250,000 points for $1, that would be a Grail right there. One transaction, 250,000 MR points. That is my Grail sub. I don't believe that's real though. It would be the Aviator Red of Amex subs. A girl can dream.
That's fair. Tariq, any Grail card, Grail sub for you?
I thought about it for a while, just looking at all the cards that I would want in the future. A lot of them just seem to be attainable, except for one. So with that being said, my Grail card is the United Mileage Plus Explorer card.
Yeah, you're just leaving
Because
in the meme at this point.
of course I am, because at this point, what the hell am I going to do? So screw it. But I will say, Grail sub was the one that was on, I think it was the 2021 release of the Sapphire Preferred, when it was like 100K points for, what was it, 4K spend in 3 months?
Something like
That is, I don't think we'll ever get a sub better than that for at least UR points. The closest one is the 100K, the current one with the 100K for 5K, but that's still an extra $1,000 in spend. But that would be the best. But yeah, until I get the Explorer card, that is the Holy Grail White Rabbit, just chasing everything unicorn card for me. Because why, Chase? Why can't you let me have this? Please. Whatever I did, I'm sorry.
Because you want it too much, honestly, at this point.
I could definitely
Patience.
want it more. So I don't know.
Patience. Grail cards, if it was still available and still out there, the city chairman would be hilarious, just because it gave you access to private jets for a $500 annual fee. This was an invite only card from city. I'm pretty sure it's in their stack of dead card zombie watch out area. Other fun ones would be the JP Morgan Reserve, obviously. I'm going to shy away from the Centurion card. $15,000 up front for a card just doesn't really float my boat. If I was a member of the British royal family, the Coots World Silk card would be hilarious. That would be fun. If I was a member of the royal family of Dubai, I would love the Dubai Royal MasterCard, just because that card has no limit. That card will allow you to put whatever you want on it. Put down the full price for a Maserati if you want a Maserati. I don't want a Maserati. Put down the full price of a Bugatti, whatever the latest Bugatti is. And I know I'm mispronouncing Bugatti as Bugatti instead of Bugatti, but whatever. You want a Bugatti, get a Bugatti. They will not deny any charge on that card. So those are Grail cards, but you need a level of money that is just unobtainium for me. And yes, unobtainium, very hard to obtain.
At that point, isn't it just spending a country's GDP? Like, or is that just your own private money?
With the Dubai Royal MasterCard, I don't know. Probably. I would have to tap into some of the Saudi sovereign fund, which I absolutely would. Please note that this podcast does not condone in any way, shape, or form stealing from the Saudi sovereign fund.
I don't want any
Matt
parts
really
of them.
doesn't want to knock on his door in the middle of this podcast.
Not from the
30
current
seconds
crown
later.
prince of Saudi Arabia. No. Maybe the next one will be nicer. Also, the Stack Your Points podcast does not condone any further mentions of the. Anyway, Grail subs, I will jump on the Chase Freedom Unlimited double everything for a year, just because that is just the ultimate gardening, do nothing for a year, just soak up all your spend type card. You can set yourself up to do all 0 except 1 with that card and just put all your spend through it. Everything is 3x minimum, 6x on dining, 10x in the Chase Travel Portal, which the Chase Travel Portal is starting to get a little bit more interesting. I will be doing a speculation station on that later this week. I did it tonight. I recorded it tonight. Be on the lookout for that. So that's my Grail sub. Grail card, of the ones that are like obtainable, I would say the JP Morgan Reserve.
Matt is hoping for a very rich uncle that he doesn't know well to pass away and leave him his entire fortune, is what I'm hearing.
Related
I
to two
mean,
former U.S. presidents, that would be nice. That would have been nice, but
the
no, I'll take whatever I
Powerball
can get.
is somewhere high. I think enough where you can just put like 10 million plus in Chase Private Bank or JP Morgan Private Bank and see what happens after that.
Honestly, a little disappointed nobody brought up the Sears MasterCard for thank you points.
That's because it's dying in 2 months, Craig. It's finally being taken outside, put on its knees, and having a bullet put in the base of its skull.
Can we let? I hope
about-
that when the day it dies, it's a Monday or a Thursday, preferably a Thursday, so Matt can just have a celebratory live. Like, I want to know what Matt is going to be drinking on the day of the Sears Mastercard's funeral.
I'm gonna go steal me a bottle of Pappy.
Ooh, now that.
Stack Your Points podcast does not condone you stealing Pappy Van Winkle from your local liquor store.
Greg does.
Which local liquor store has a bottle of Pappy that's just sitting there for anybody to take?
I live in a county that's very affluent.
I have a request
Still,
when this does happen, though. Can you just do a reading of Mice and Men? And then when we get to the part of, you just think about those rabbits, George. And then that'll be at 12 o'clock when it's fully gone.
I have breaking news. The United Explorer card has changed its background, and I think we all need to see what this new background is. It's
Hold on.
very important
I'm scared.
if my computer
I'm
will help.
I am
Going
terrified.
to love if it's a photo of what?
Why?
Baby beluga.
It's a white
Why?
whale. Moby Dick.
No, I get
Oh.
it.
Okay.
I love that we've become a full-on literary podcast.
Look, ChatGPT let me down. I was trying to put Tariq's face on this. Matt, you can cut this part. I was trying to put Tariq's face on it, and it was so terrible that I didn't want to do that to him. And
It looks like a shitty version of a wax museum figurehead.
it's if you took Tariq and put on 150 pounds of just in his face. Like, that's the only part that's different. It's just like they have enlarged his face. So I was trying to make it funny, and it just didn't land. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Matt.
it was hilarious. Trust me.
Keep my weight, lower the height, and that's what you got.
If only it was a sperm whale.
Probably could ask
Anyway.
them for that.
There we go. So thanks, Keith, for that. We'll come back to your next question in a little bit. But first, we have Double Animal Fries, who asks, which card or cards do you think are the most beautiful or coolest looking? And which ones are the ugliest? Craig, do you have any particularly spellbinding cards that come to mind, or some cards that just got hit with the ugly stick?
I do. For one that's just absolutely beautiful, and then they hit it with the ugly stick. The OG Hilton Aspire. Don't know if any of you used to know what that looked like, but the cool pink to purple color gradient. The new one isn't bad, but it's just boring. I know that's a hot take for some people, but it is not an attractive card. Neither is the Surpass. I think out of the three, the Hilton Honors is the best looking of them. But yeah, that OG Aspire, that is the first actual like luxury or expensive card that I ever got, because when I was traveling for work, I only stayed at Hilton's, and I was like, wow, I have made it. Look at these raised, beautiful silver numbers. But yeah, as far as ugly, again, hot take. I don't particularly like the classic platinum, like just the plain one. RJ, I'm so sorry.
And just like that, Craig is never allowed back on Stack Your Points.
Matt and I will
think
be
it's a
doing the
fine
podcast
card.
as a duo next week.
It is the one card that I'll never give up. Somehow I spend a bunch on groceries, but I would give up a gold for that. But throw some flowers on there, or the weird paint on it. But it's like when I shave my beard, it's a lot of face. Sorry.
Fair. There's a reason this stays. RJ, cards hit with the ugly stick.
So I still think one of the prettiest looking cards is the Attune, the Wells Fargo Attune, just because it's different, right? Like, you look in your wallet and you know exactly what card that is. There's nothing else quite like it. I agree with Craig. I think the old Hilton designs were really pretty. A little dated, but I think that's why they tried to update them, but I agree they were superior before. I think the Centurion, out of all of the classic Amex designs, I think the Centurion is the prettiest. I actually think the green is probably the second. I really like that shade of green for the green card. Ugly, I think the Quicksilver is one of the ugliest cards. I don't care if it's the new one, the old one, that's just ugly. I think most credit cards are boring, right? Like, I look in my wallet and they're boring. I like the Delta Reserves because they're purple, so they're a different color. It's like the Quest, the United Quest. Like, it's purple, it's a different color. It's not blue, black, or silver. So that is nice. Like, I'm over blue credit cards. Like, there are just too many. I have two different shades of Hilton cards in my wallet right now, and it's thankfully one says business on it, or I honestly wouldn't be able to tell them apart. But yeah, I think companies need to either let Discover It will just let you put basically whatever you want on the card. I think companies either need to do that or they need to have better designs, because like the Sapphire Preferred and Reserve are basically the same design, except they turned like the color down on the Reserve, so it's just darker, and I'm over that.
I'm
Oh,
honestly
no.
surprised RJ didn't mention the white 747 Delta card.
I don't have that, so I forget that they did it because I'm sad that I don't have it.
Yeah, those sorts of one-offs can be really nicely designed. I will say those 747 cards, when they bring them around, are really cool. Next time, guys, you don't need a piece of 747 metal, just a really pretty design is all you really need. So let me just start with Wells Fargo has very pretty design language, whether it's the
They do.
autograph, the attune. I even like the active cashes design, and they brought that to all of their other cashback cards. Like if you still have the Cashwise card, they redesigned it. It's still yellow, but it's that new active cash design. The Golden Ponies card, I think, as the Golden Ponies card, the Wells Fargo signature Visa card, that only real superpower of that card is you get 1.5 cents per point redemption through their travel portal. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that is the card superpower. As the Golden Ponies card, it was like a really signature type card, but its new design language with the cashback like falls flat with its new pink and purple and red design. I don't really like that. So that's ugly. Which ones are so I think the Wells Fargo design language as is really nice. I even like the journey, the design of the journey. So I'm interested to see what Beyond will look like, since those are interesting looking cards. Cards that got hit by the ugly stick to me, the Chase Freedom Unlimited is just this weird mix of blue and green that just doesn't work. Other mixes of blue and green that don't work. The Frontier credit card. I understand that green is the ground and blue is the sky, but like they have off shades of both blue and green to me. And then it's just random animals that they put on for no particular reason. Like, why do you need a raccoon and a manatee and a polar bear and a wolf? It's weird. It just didn't work. It just doesn't work for me. Now, if you hold the Frontier credit card and it works for you, great. I hope it's just in your digital wallet and that's the only place you use it, but could be worse. But yeah, I like Wells Fargo's design language. Other pretty cards to me would be the JP Morgan Reserve. That's a very pretty looking card. If you could ever get it, I've never seen it, so I could be wrong. The World of Hyatt personal card looks pretty, but is functionally very stupid.
I can't
Aside
believe
from
none of you said the Disney card.
Lonnie's not
Shame.
here.
I was this close, guys.
So here's the thing. The Disney card is the only real customizable card from Chase. Like you get to pick whether you're getting Mickey Mouse or if you could slap a Stormtrooper on there, great.
You can put Darth Vader on there.
You could put Darth Vader on there. My sister has the card. She has Tinkerbell. So you do get to design the card to your desire. I will never touch that card with a 50-foot pole. So that's just me.
You know, the one card that I'm actually surprised you didn't say, Matt, were the NHL Discover cards. So you can have your New York Islanders on a credit card.
UBS Arena like has a new like lounge area for JetBlue card holders and a Amex lounge within the arena. So I don't need no Discover It with an Islanders logo on it, unless it says number one overall pick 2025 on it, because we got the number one overall pick in 2025.
Doesn't
Oh, you
that just
did?
mean you sucked this year?
Look, we went
You
from
sucked
10th.
just enough is actually the
No,
question.
no,
is
no.
the answer.
Here's the beauty of it. We had a 3.5% chance of moving from the 10th overall pick to the first overall pick. So typically it's worst in the league would automatically get the number one pick. But like leagues have decided that lotteries are the thing to do now. So we went from not being the worst team in the league to being not the worst team in the league, but we got the number one pick.
I want to just point out the Blackhawks won 25 games.
I just want to point out that y'all got Connor Bedard and y'all had how many trophies that got stained by the Kyle Beach thing?
Okay, you know what? That was unnecessary. You could have just let me have my little point, but fine. I'm going to be quiet now.
I have a Nicholas Chalmerson jersey that I'm dying to wear, but I can't wear anymore
No, that's
because
fair.
of that.
That's
I
fair.
also have a Carey Price jersey from the Montreal Canadiens that I can no longer wear,
I respect it.
and an Alex Ovechkin jersey. I'll just buy another Capitals jersey. It's fine. I have reasons. Yeah, so there we go. We're going to move over to Jason's questions now. Jason says, many times you all have asked for other banks to add mobile wallet as a spending category. I don't think we've asked. We're like begging and pleading. And all sorts of other. Anyway, the forthcoming Alaska Airlines card is going to have foreign transactions as a spending category. What other spending categories are out there that banks haven't added to good cards would you like to see? Tariq, we're going to have you start this one.
First things first, I didn't get to answer the previous question. Dude,
Oh, geez.
I'm cool.
That's fair. I thought you did.
No, I just was giving my 2 cents about your card. No.
Oh,
but
beautiful, ugly stick, and then answer this question.
Beautiful for me, bias. Credit Human, formerly known as San Antonio Credit Union, had a San Antonio Spurs MasterCard that was just a 2% flat cashback card. So anything that I could use to see my beloved Spurs, and we're on the upswing. So if I was doing cashback, that would be the card I'd get. Aside from that, I actually do the refresh on the United cards and the Southwest cards. Well, Southwest, not really refreshed. Cards that were hit with the ugly stick. Personally, the new City Strata Premier, I don't like the way it looks. It's just the little waves. I'm not a fan. City was just trying to do a thing. It's not. But the real answer and what was really hit with the ugly stick was the new design on the US Bank Cash Plus card. Good God, that was terrible. Even though I'm not going to go, if I wanted to get the card, I envy those who have the original blue one, because that new one is an abomination. Now, in regards to spending categories that aren't there, it's rough for me just because whenever I my everyday spend, when I think of the things that I pay for, most everything can get covered. I can't think of something that would be on my spend category. Like, obviously, there's the parents that would kill for daycare. Maybe like tuition loan payment, student loan payments, or like tuition payments, where you can get 3 or 4x just because college is expensive. And if you're some of the fortunate few that are able to get school paid for, and you can get a card that you can just cover that expenses, you could get a whole lot of points on tuition. But that's probably why they're not on there, because the amount of points that they would give. So I think that would be mine. Now that I think about it, tuition or just school related expenses. Because how much money do you think you can get when you got to go buy textbooks?
It's fair. Definitely fair. I should have known that there was going to be a San Antonio Spurs answer to the first question, to the question I skipped over.
Go Spurs, go. Is that why you passed on me? You didn't want to hear it?
No, but that's why I have the background I have now. Craig, what new spending category would you like to see big banks adopt?
No, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I'm just absolutely loving this whale. I can tell that Tariq and I, although we aren't too far apart in age, are at different points in life, because I have a few. The first is daycare. For those of you that have tiny crotch goblins, it is expensive to have somebody take care of them. It is very expensive to have someone take care of them. Sometimes it's $500 a week. Yeah. And the most you can do is pull out $5,000 before tax in a spending account to help offset some of that cost. Doesn't do much. So I know Mesa is 3x right now, or is it 2x? One of those. 3x. So yeah, 3x. But if I could get Amex Blue Gold or the business gold to say, hey, you work from home. This is a work expense, and give me 4x back MR on daycare. Oh, I'm on that. Don't care what the annual fee is. I'm there. And then the other one, because my tiny crotch goblin human he believes that he's Jeff Hardy. He really does. And so we visit the doctor quite often. Medical bills. If I could get 4x back on medical bills, that would be absolutely sensational, because again, yeah, you'll get your deductible at a certain point, but if you're a person that has a high yield or a high cost deductible, $3,000 or $4,000, it'll be really nice to get 4 or 5x on that first $4 or 5,000, and then anything else up to that. Even if you're not with someone with young kids, but you're somebody that's older using Medicare, Medicaid, medical bills will be huge if you get anything past 2x. So those are the things that I think are missing. I doubt that we would have medical bills. I can see daycare, but I think it becomes a slippery slope when we talk about how much medical debt is in the United States because our healthcare system is, I will avoid that. But yeah, you were looking at debt, transferring to more expensive debt, which then you lose some of your consumer protections on because there are some protections for medical debt right now. But yeah, those would be the ones that I'd be looking for.
Nope, totally fair. As a parent as well, I really can't call my child a tiny crotch goblin. It's really hard for me to do with a straight face in any way, shape, or form.
They haven't made you mad enough yet.
I'm 6'6". My son is somehow 2 years old and 3 feet tall. He is quite literally at crotch height. So whenever he runs up to me to give me a hug, I get headbutted in the crotch. So not only is he a crotch goblin from birth, he is now a crotch goblin from headbutting me.
I did not realize that you were going to have a double entendre when you mentioned that.
Oh yeah.
Mine is 5. I'm 6'1". She's at like just above my hip now, which is weird.
Just realizing we have absolute units on this podcast. We got 6 foot, 6'1", and 6'6". We could make a killer 3-on-3 team if we were all
What
in
you didn't know
athletic shape.
is RJ is actually 6'9".
Yeah. You didn't even ask me, Tariq. Wow.
Hey,
Misogynist.
we needed a general manager, all right?
Wow, not even on the court.
Hey, she is the brains behind the operation. I know I'm not smart enough to handle it, manage a team. RJ manages this podcast, so I figured put 2 and 2 together.
Stack
I'll
of Points
take it.
podcast does not condone not putting all of your co-hosts on the floor. No, I definitely agree that daycare is definitely one that the big banks should look into considering. Medical expenses would definitely be a big one as well, beyond pharmacy. Like 3X Pharmacy from Chase is a unique thing to Chase, which I appreciate and I like, but copays, man. Or deductibles. I don't know how you're going to get your points on your deductibles, but copays, man. Copays. So while we're here, what other categories would I like to see? I want to see Chase or Wells Fargo or any of the big players have a consistent warehouse category or discount store, considering how much money gets spent. Now, I know that Walmart isn't going to play nice with anybody. I understand that. The Waltons can do their own little thing and walk off a short pier.
I was just going to say they can kick rocks barefoot.
I'm fine with the pier and a very deep lake. Anyway, Stack of Points podcast is not condoning you telling the Waltons to kick rock barefoot or walk off a pier. Anyway, I want to see discount stores like Dollar General. I've been dying for a way to arbitrage Dollar General lately without having to use the chasing cash. I would love to see discount stores that are beyond Walmart and Target, because I know that those two can play in have their own separate play area. Warehouse stores would be fantastic, whether it's like Restaurant Depot or BJ's or Sam's Club, without having to get their co-branded card, even though the BJ's card seems to be the best of the bunch, just because it's 5X at BJ's and 2X everywhere else. I think there's something. Oh, and you save 15 cents a gallon on BJ's gas.
It is cash back specifically, though. Like, it's not, it's 2%, not 2X. I just wanted to clarify because somebody will say that in the comments.
Yeah, and speaking of Walmart and Target, I know the respective cards, but again, they are cash back and an annual fee you have to pay for it. But the US Bank Shopper Cash, you can get 6% on Walmart and Target, as long as you play by the rules of US Bank and doing their blood ritual to get their cards.
Yeah, but I would love to see discount stores and warehouse stores be more of an option across the big banks. I also wouldn't mind seeing daycare was a big one. You know what? Another one would be like insurance premiums. There are very few cards that have insurance premiums as a category. The State Farm card, I want to say it's State Farm. It could be Farmers, I don't remember, but it's a US Bank issued card. Again, US Bank, but it's 3X on insurance premiums up to $10,000. And then the other one would be like property taxes. But
found it, $4,000 annually.
4,000, even worse. But Mesa card does cover 3X property taxes, home insurance, all that stuff. So like big banks, look at what Mesa's doing, copy what Mesa's doing, and like fee-free rent. RJ, I've made the list of the impossible. What else would you like to see?
Give me a syntax, damn it. Give me a category for tobacco and alcohol and prostitutes. I'm quoting Bender there from Futurama.
Matt Groening will be proud.
Blackjack as well. No, I like So that was more of a
Fine,
joke
I'll build my
answer.
own credit card with blackjack and hookers.
Here we go.
I need that now because I'm going to Vegas this weekend. Make it happen, please. I'm going to earn a bunch of points on that blackjack table.
So I have a card with it. I would like to see more cards with it. It's just an online shopping category. Like the Surpass has it. It's at 4x, which is pretty good, but like other cards could have online shopping. Like I feel like so much online shop that would cover your Amazon, that would cover your Walmart online, that would cover so much that I think it would be really useful just as a category. So that one, I do think something like insurance would be helpful just because like renter's insurance, you got to pay potentially fees for the building. Condos, you'd have to pay fees, property taxes if you own a home. There's a lot of stuff that you just can't get elevated more than 2x on. But yeah, I echo what you guys said. I think warehouses are ripe for it. It's hard when you can't get more than 2x on anything, like on these categories. And even 2x sometimes, depending on the category, like you're paying $30,000 a year for daycare and you can only get 60,000 points off of that. That does feel rough. And yes, people without children, you can actually pay $30,000 a year for childcare. I have friends who do it and they make 36,000 after taxes, but they both got to work for health insurance. One has to work for health insurance, the other one works for other things. So, yeah, that's again, I don't have kids and I'm real glad because I
That
like
hurts.
my lifestyle.
That hurts. Good God. I'm going to make sure to live close to my parents. Sorry, Mom. You're going to be
I,
babysitter.
you might want to clear that with her because
No, genuinely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
there's also issues with grandparents of our parents' generation just not wanting to babysit. So that is also a thing you might want to clear before you take that to your mother because she might be like, I'm gonna summer in Florida or winter in Florida. I don't know what you're doing with the kid. Here's my dog.
In a functional society, this would be tax deductible. However, greatest country in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah, about that. Anyway.
So this is not the episode I'm going to do a campaign on because this is going to get flagged hard for political speech.
And so much more could happen besides the YouTube flagging. Anyway.
Anyhow. So we're going to move over to our next question. It comes from AP, who asks, what are your favorite hotel brands inside of Marriott, Hilton, IHG, and Hyatt? Don't have to necessarily go across all four chains if you don't want to. But RJ, do you have a particular favorite sub-brand of hotels?
Not really. I look at the umbrella of Hilton or IHG primarily, and then choice if I don't like what I see or I want to compare. I look at ratings and like reviews pretty strongly before I decide. If I have a Hampton with amazing reviews and like they seem legitimate and all of that, and a DoubleTree where I'm questioning, I'm gonna go with the Hampton, right? Like I I'm not super tied outside of the loyalty program to any of the sort of sub brands, right? I want to coagulate my points, whatever word that is not the word I used. I want to pool all my points in the loyalty program. And because they all work with the same loyalty program, I don't need that same devotion to these sub brands. If I had this spend, I'd stay at the Waldorf every time, but just, I don't have that spend. I don't think any of us have Waldorf every time we leave the house spend.
I wish I did.
That'd be nice. That'd be super nice.
Very nice.
Craig, you spend a fair amount of time in hotels. Do you have a particular sub-brand favorite?
Yeah, I do. So for personal stays for Marriott, I actually love Renaissance. Renaissance they give you actually get the breakfast benefit, so you don't have to struggle for a $10 coupon or wondering if you're actually going to get your benefits recognized. And they're usually bigger properties, they're nicer properties, especially if you're going to one that's a resort, always really nice. I've been to about 9 of them so far. They've all been super clean and they're usually by exactly where I want to be. For Hilton, unfortunately, my favorite is Waldorf Astoria. So we have my wife and I, we have like things that we want to do. So we want to visit all the national parks. We also want to stay in every Waldorf in the world. I will say Waldorfs, and it's not been on purpose, but every Waldorf we've stayed at, we've had my son with us, and no matter what, they have recognized him and done something nice for him. The Waldorf in Park City gave him like 10 stuffed animals, and then they set up a little coal miners like experience in our room for him to do, and they gave him like s'mores to roast in the fireplace in the room. The one in Atlanta gave him, and this is one for Tariq, but they gave him wrap snacks, and they gave him, yeah, I know, right?
What?
And they gave him a little signed record from Outkast, and I was
Are
like,
you
oh,
serious?
yeah,
Like vinyl?
yeah.
What the hell?
And it wasn't for me. Just to be very clear, that was not for me. That was a him gift.
His name
So,
on
like,
it, or
Tariq is about to go borrow a niece, nephew, cousin, and take them to a Waldorf Astoria just to see what he can get.
especially
so
the one in
yeah.
Atlanta? I got enough little cousins to go around.
Dude, I'm telling you, like they gave him it was AT Aliens, that original album. And it was just like, granted, they didn't sign it, but it was like a stamped print
Even
signature.
still, I wish I could get ATLs just for staying at a hotel.
But so that's always super nice. And then one that's going to come out of the blue on you, Best Western World Hotels Distinct. They are the most unique, random, it's just the most eclectic jumble of hotels that you can get because they are quite literally just local hotels that have franchised out the Best Western name. And out west, they just do random stuff. We stayed at one that was like a John Wayne theme in Kanab, Utah, and just really cool off the beaten path places. Granted, you could book them through their own personal little website, or you can book them through Best Western. But either way, just really cool. Not necessarily from a benefit standpoint, but just a interesting property standpoint.
And the only other like higher or not typical Best Western I've ever seen was the Christopher Hotel in New Orleans, which was on like Magazine Street. I'm sure it's in that collection because I looked at it, I was just like, that's a Best Western?
Yeah.
Really? What?
Best Western's like Wyndham. Everybody just assumes they're like roadside crappy bed bug motels, but I promise you they got some winners in there, especially out west, like really road trip locations. Always super clean, always great breakfast.
I have to keep that in mind because my experiences of Best Westerns have always been like, oh, that's there.
That's
Tariq, do you have a particular sub brand favorite, Mr. Hyatt?
So I'm gonna go with my two, obviously Hyatt and IHG. With Hyatt, just because I've been dabbling with Brand Explorer and staying at as many as I can just so I can get the extra cert. I love Hyatt Regencies, mostly just because I love like the lobby, foyer, entry. They just always look great. Hyatt Regency in Chicago, beautiful, amazing hotel. Love the views. Hyatt Regency downtown San Antonio, right by the Riverwalk. It was just phenomenal. I just love how they're laid out. So that's like my go-to. And on the opposite side of the spectrum with IHG, Holiday Inn Express. Because whenever, no, regardless of where I'm going, where I need to be, if I can't find a Hyatt, there's a Holiday Inn Express somewhere. I was in the middle of nowhere, like an hour outside of Kansas City, Missouri. There was a Holiday Inn Express there. And the beauty about Holiday Inn Express, they always have, in my opinion, of the mid-level hotels, the best continental breakfast. I always enjoy they have the little pancake machine. They always have really good omelets. And of course, the cinnamon rolls. So I've never been let down. I've been at probably 4 or 5 Holiday Inn Expresses since I have been in the game, and probably a dozen more before the game. And it's always been the same satisfactory. Plus, they're the only ones out of the brands that I've stayed at that actually have firm pillows. And if those super soft plush pillows that you get at hotels, my head just sinks into them. Maybe I just have a big head, but I need the firm pillow.
What did regular Holiday Inn do to you that you can't even go regular Holiday Inn? You're like Holiday Inn, but the Express.
Honestly, I don't hate Holiday Inn. I've stayed at a Holiday Inn, and it's nice. It's just the free breakfast at the Express it's just that difference of the free breakfast.
So what I'm hearing is you're
I'm fat and I like food. And
fair,
if I can get good
Same.
food for cheap,
fair,
yes.
fair. I'll give you that one.
Let's see. Brands for me within Marriott. Marriott has the nicest like extended stay type locations. If you're going to be going somewhere for a week or more, Residence Inns and Town Place Suites are fantastic. If you are going to go somewhere and you don't feel like going out to eat every single night, the setup that you get at the Residence Inn or the Town Place Suites, you get your own little stovetop. You have a functional mic. All hotels have a functional microwave, mostly, but you get all the things you need. You have a full fridge in your room, and you have a full freezer, so you can set up for a week and not have to go out every single night. You can stay in and just handle one round of groceries, and that's all you have to do for food for a week. And that can be really nice if that is something that you are like passionate about doing every night, cooking. You can make the Residence and the Town Place Suites work for you. Hyatt, I haven't gotten like super adventurous with Hyatts. I would love to go to a Park Hyatt at some point, but that's going to be a point stay. Or if I ever scored like a category 1 to 8 certificate, that would be a category 1 to 8 certificate use. Hilton's, I have usually done Hampton Inns. I avoid the Garden Inns. What did they do to me? Nothing, but I just prefer the Hampton Inn. I've also enjoyed my stays at Doubletrees. I've enjoyed my stays at other Hilton locations. IHG, it's usually Holiday Inn or Holiday Inn Express, whichever's there and usually cheaper. So that kind of covers the big four. I am looking forward to a Park Hyatt or Conrad or a JW or a Ritz when the time comes and when I can do like the points with no problem. I would love to do a Kimpton as well. Just make sure that I know what the secret password is that quarter, so they can bring out the little prize wheel and let me spin it. Yeah, I've been staying at the low to mid range, not like higher mid range, but I will say if you're going to be doing any sort of extended stay, Marriott Residence Inn and Town Place Suites are fantastic.
Also, I just want to touch on something that you mentioned. It is getting more and more rare to have a microwave and a fridge in some of these hotel rooms. So folks do not sleep on there being a fridge and a microwave in the room. It is huge.
Because why would they put a fridge and a microwave in your room when they can just have you pay for room service or have you go to the on-site restaurant? Come
Or
on, it's
the
like infinite money
on-site-
glitch for them.
The on-site market, which is really just a soda stand and candy. Maybe if you're lucky, there's like frozen food if you have a microwave in your room.
It's a perk if you have IHG Platinum and you're staying at a Holiday Inn. They'll give you a free snack there.
But points. They'll also give you points.
Like 500. I'll just take the free drink.
Take the 500 points.
When your girlfriend likes having a bottle of water at night so she can take the things she needs to take, you take the free drink. And that's why I love Discoverist from Hyatt.
Or you get a bucket of ice, let some of it melt, and then you have water.
No, not with her. She likes the nice bottled filtered water, or at least the. Anyway.
So moving on, we're going to go back to Keith's last question. And Keith asks, now that we find ourselves living in even more uncertain economic times, do you find yourself using your credit cards less often? And do you think Americans will prefer cash, debt, electronic payments before using credit as they once did? Will there be any secondary effects with less miles and points generated because the banks pull back on the credit that they're willing to lend to cardholders and issue to new applicants? I find myself using my cards much less often than I did at this time last year. I'm going to go with no. I'm not using my credit cards any less often. I have actually maybe been ramping up and using them slightly more often. I'll tell you right now, the only time I do not use cash for transactions at stores, at restaurants, or pretty much anywhere. I put everything through a card as much as I can. I will exchange cash with friends and family if I need to exchange cash. But even then, if I can use Venmo or Zelle or some other form of sending them money electronically so that I do not have to hold cash, I will do that instead. I will have cash given to me from friends and family to repay things.
I take that cash, I immediately bring it to my bank, and I put it right back in my bank. I'm using cash much less often. Debt, I would probably be using for, I might employ some buy now, pay laters in the near future, but I don't have any immediate need to. And since I don't have an immediate need and I'm not going to be like immediately covering it, I'm not buying the thing. Like right now, if I'm not able to cover the thing in full, I'm usually not going to be buying it.
I think Keith
Um,
meant debit there.
oh, debit? Yeah. If he did, then I'm not using debit. I only use debit to take money out of my bank account or put money into my bank account. I'm not using a debit card ever. You can take your PayPal debit card and shove it, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not using cash more. I'm just using my credit card more often. But if you did mean buy now, pay later, I'm not doing buy now, pay later anytime soon, especially with the possibility that might start reporting to my credit. Craig, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I don't think I've actually used a debit card to make a purchase since 2021, and I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. Touching on the PayPal debit, I thought about opening it because it seemed cool. Then I realized you can only move over money in $100 increments, and that just seems like a pain in the ass. The only two debit cards, so I opened bank accounts just so I can get the bank account bonuses. I will admit I am a grifter that opens and gets those checking bonuses. I just opened one, but I keep two open no matter what, and that's going to be the Charles Schwab and whatever local bank that I'm using, which right now is Old National because I can walk to it from my house. I think right now, though, from a protection standpoint, especially as we get closer into more of an economic uncertainty or possible downturn, it is not the time to start using your debit cards because you lose out on that purchase protection. We are, I will say this, the tougher that times are, the more creative people will become. And when I say the more creative people will become, the more likely that they will find a way to steal your information. With that said, I would prefer that you steal Chase's money or Amex's money and they get their money back because if you steal Craig's money, my money's just gone, at least up to $500 until I can prove otherwise. So I don't find myself leveraging or utilizing that. I will also say this, and I've been very open about this in the Discord and other things. There's a reason Craig cannot get a Discover credit card right now. Discover has banned me for life for mistakes that I made back when I was in college. And so, because of that, I try my best to not pay for things if I don't have the cash for it in the moment. There are just some things that you have to finance. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say I've never used buy now, pay later, or what is it, the Planet thing for American Express, because, yeah, right. But 99.9% of the time, I am paying for whatever I have because I'm using my credit cards like a debit card. As far as family goes, I'm married to people that are cash people, and it irks the ever loving hell out of me because they always have cash and they always want to give you the cash for whatever you've paid for. And I'm like, please, people, use Zelle, learn how your phone works, do quite literally do anything. So that's the only reason I have a local debit card that's not my Charles Schwab card, is so I can just go and put cash in that my family gives me. But other than that, no, I will not be changing up my spending habits. If anything, I'm going to double down more in anything that I can. If I could put my ACH purchases for or payments for my student loans on credit cards and then just have to pay that off instantaneously or not earn points, I would do that. I'm just very hyper vigilant and hyper aware of identity theft, information theft, and the threat of that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Reek, how are you approaching things?
I still will use my credit card for everything possible. Every now and again, I will buy a lottery ticket. So that's the only thing I will use a debit card on because unfortunately, they don't let you use credit cards to pay for lotto tickets, which makes sense. You can't try to borrow money to make money, at least in that sense. But no, aside from that, every transaction or every purchase that I can possibly make with a credit card, I am using with a credit card. I know, like I said, I feel like because we know so many people in this little niche of us being like a niche of a niche, we feel like everybody in the world uses credit cards. the way we do, there's a lot of people that will just use a debit card, regardless of the economic scenario that we are in. I think that there's still people that believe that cash is king. I know with my generation, Gen Z, and then future with Gen Alpha, and even some of the millennials that are slightly older than me, like born in the early 90s, they use a lot of buy now, pay laters, like Klarna, Afterpay. So those are still things like there's a reason why DoorDash and I think it's Klarna have a partnership where you can finance your Chipotle bowl in 4 easy payments. They wouldn't do it if they wouldn't have that there, people wouldn't do it. And I already know that's a thing. Plus, I've watched enough Caleb Hammer to know that people use debt in the wrong way. But aside from that, we have your usual car financing. Some people do it more leniently than others. I've seen 6, 7 year, even 8-year car payments, 96 months. What's wrong with y'all? For interest rates that are as much as some credit card interest rates. So I think they'll probably scale back on that as the way the world is in our economy nowadays. But in regards of like credit card lending, I think that there may be some less points amounts. I don't know if it may lead to like slower or less frequent devaluations, just because if there is less points in the world that Chase built, Amex, Capital One, you name it, is having to dish out. So we could probably see a slowing of more future devaluations because people they aren't giving out as many points. I mean, we've seen with Bill how they were getting rid of Point Quest, mostly because they were just handing out 250 points and people were sharing the answers on the Bill subreddit, despite knowing that Bill, Richard Kerr are in the subreddits.
I don't think they knew is the sad part.
That's what's ridiculous. But regardless, we're seeing those kind of features, like maybe like points bonuses may go down because of it. So that may be something that we'll see. But all in all, for my use case, unless I'm going to go buy the occasional lottery ticket, I am just putting my credit cards and everything because I'll just pay it off when the statement comes around.
All right. RJ, your thoughts here?
I don't think I have used cash of my own volition in probably 5 years. I, like Craig, my family likes cash, or they like, here, take my card and buy it. If I have to get something off of Amazon for my grandmother, she does not understand that, no, let me buy it with my card so I get the points and you can pay me back. Still haven't quite gotten her onto that train. But yeah, so as far as like cash and stuff go, no, I don't want to use cash. I know where my debit card is, but it's only because if I ever need to use an ATM, I want to have that option. I have not, again, used an ATM in probably 7 years. The only ATM I will use is my local bank has an ATM that's obviously zero fees because it's their ATM. I will, if I'm going on a trip, I usually do carry a little bit of cash on me simply because if something happens, I go to a cash only place because I'm not familiar with it. I have an option. But no, I don't see myself changing. My overall spending might go down, but I think that's just a function of things are more expensive, so I am buying less overall to compensate for the more expensive things. But I'm not going to change how I pay for things. Like if I'm buying an airline ticket, it's going on the Platinum. If I'm buying food at a supermarket, it's going to go on the Surpass, right? Like those things I don't think need to change just because the economy sucks. Like it just might be my Surpass gets more spend, right? Because I'm spending more when I go to a grocery store. So as far as I'm concerned, no. I think the problem we have is people assume the debit card is better because it's coming right out of the checking account. And I think that I understand why people who are not credit card people, like I have family members who use their debit card all the time because in their mind it's safer. Like I'm not putting this on a card that I might forget to pay, right? Even though they have auto pay set up because I have set it up for them. But in their heads, it is a safer bet to do a debit card. But they're not thinking about the purchase protection. They're not thinking about if somebody gets hacked in your information, you have that firewall. They're not thinking about any of that because in their mind, it's coming right out of my account, so it's safer. So I think as a society, some of that might be a downturn because they're assuming it's safer to go this route that isn't actually safer.
And I actually chime in on something that you just said? It really resonated with me. And it
Yes, you
also
may.
brings in to the point that Tariq brought up here. To Tariq's point, you mentioned we might see some slowing of bad lending or people getting these extra long terms. I want to say there's a sucker born every day. And something that like, and I figured this out when I was going through my MBA class. A lot of corporations find a write-off debt. They account for that and they use it to their leverage because you can use that in your tax code. So that write-off that they get comes in as income and it comes off as a deduction for their overall loss of business, which helps them out. So they're expecting probably 10% of these defaults to just happen. And if they don't happen, that is a bad thing for them, right? Like it is not good. They are hoping and praying that people default on these loans, not just from oh, you can't pay it, so we're not getting money back. You're not paying it. We're writing that off. You are going to get a tax form because it is going to show that you have gotten that as received income and you still now need to pay us back. And I just think things are going to get worse as we go into that. Matt and RJ are in New York, and so they have laws to say how much you can put interest in. But I think as we are in a more deregulated environment from an economic standpoint, we're going to see a lot of states get power back into their own financial institutions. And I fear that we might see 40% interest on a $9,200 Toyota Corolla from 2013 on a 7-year loan. That is going to be wicked. And what is so interesting is that somebody's going to take that loan because they need a car to get to work. They just do. And
What's
then to
crazier,
RJ's,
that's not just wicked. That just feels evil, man.
oh, it is. From a moral standpoint, yeah, that no, you are bad people. Let's be
I
very clear.
So I help my grandmother with her mail because she's a bit of a snowbird. And if it's anything credit card related, I have her permission. I'm not committing mail fraud, I promise, to open them to check to see what it is. Because she knows I know credit cards and she has her two that she's not changing. No matter how much I beg, borrow, and plead, she's got her two that she's not changing. So she lets me open. She got a credit card from a company that will remain nameless but sponsors the NHL that had a 210% interest for it was basically a loan on a credit card, but it was 210% interest. And it was for seniors because they were targeting people who didn't who grew up in a generation where you didn't have things like that. So it was, I wish I saved it. This was several months ago, but like seniors get targeted for this stuff because they don't understand, not because they're stupid, but because financial rules were so different in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s that this like when I talk about interest with people who are in their 50s, 60s, or 70s, like 12% interest on a credit card seems crazy to them. If I tell them I have 29% interest on my Amex cards, they like look at me like I'm like committing mortal sin. I don't pay interest, so it doesn't matter. I don't care what the interest rate is.
There was one
But
time where I talked to my dad about my credit cards, and he brought up the interest rates, and I'm like, Dad, I would never. No, that's not a thing.
yeah, but like that generation, sometimes they did pay interest because it was 5% and they could and it really didn't matter, or it wouldn't hurt them the way that you get hit with 30% interest on $100 and you're paying that for the next 7 years. So I do think some of this is generational, right? If you're in that like Generation X to maybe early whatever Tariq is, you have some ability to understand this, but Generation X and sort of millennials are the main ones that actually understand this stuff as a whole. And then you have the boomers and people. But still, even in our generation, there's a crap ton of credit card debt because people don't understand it because it's really not taught.
The Stack Your Points podcast does not condone mail fraud. However, we do condemn whoever the hell came up with 210% interest on a loan off a credit card. And we can't condone throwing an axe at the person that thought of this idea, but
What you do in your
upset.
mind, we can't stop. We're not the thought police.
We're not gonna condone somebody performing the acts of a certain brother of the Mario Brothers, and it ain't Mario. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, 210%. That is just pure evil. Also, that $9,200 Toyota Corolla with the 40% interest, I would just tell someone to put it on their credit card in whole and then get a balance transfer card and balance transfer as much as they could off of it. It would be
Fair.
cheaper than the 40% fucking interest.
See, but if you didn't know credit cards and didn't know that was possible, that's why people need to know more about credit cards. So send this podcast to a friend or family member listener who doesn't know about credit cards, and we will entertain them and teach them things.
Like and subscribe to Stack Your Points so we can get the YouTube algorithm gods to push our videos out for the general public so that we don't have the 40% interest rate on a 12-year-old Corolla.
This is something that Stack Your Points podcast absolutely condones. All right, that'll do it for questions, but we're going to call it a show there. Craig, if we wanted to find you on the vast expanses of the internet, where would be the best place to do that?
In the best Discord there is to be, the Stack Your Points Discord.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Tariq, if we wanted to find you on the vast expanses of these here internets before everything gets shut down because of reasons, where would that be?
This weekend, I'll be in capitalism central USA on this fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Maybe I can actually have some happiness because, God, this ending was depressing with friends like you who needs enemies. But aside from that, you can find me, of course, at the Stack Your Points Discord and Reeks Rewards. God, I need something to pick me up. I am sad.
Maybe you should go make a video and then you'll be happy because people will be commenting on you finally made a video.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. That might actually be whatever.
Get that
You can apply
dopamine.
for the Explorer again and just wait for it to go into decision. That'll be like 10
Again,
good
I don't
seconds.
want to be even more depressed than I already am, Craig.
But for that 10 seconds, you're going to be up there.
No, I'm not. I'm going to be anxiety ridden.
But hey, the New York Islanders have the #1 pick in this year's NHL draft, so I got that to look forward to, which is nice.
There we go.
Aaron Rodgers
RJ
isn't a Packer, so I'm super happy about this football season.
Or a New York Jet.
Also that. He might be a
That's right.
Pittsburgh Steeler, which is going to be bizarre.
They're still going to go 10-7, find their way into the wild card game and lose. Doesn't matter what they do, who's under center or anything like that. RJ, if folks wanted to find you in the vast expenses of this here internet before it gets shut down due to guillotines, what would be the best place for that?
You can find me at Do You Take Cards on YouTube. You can find me in the Stack Your Points Discord.
Absolutely. You can find Lonnie at the Call Me Out Lonnie YouTube channel. He'll also be in the Stack Your Points Discord. You can find me in the Stack Your Points Discord and me at the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. Check us out on Thursdays for our lives at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Oh, this Thursday is going to be fun. I'll be taking a 6 a.m. flight from Chicago that day. That's going to be fun. Check us out here on YouTube on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday's the main show. Friday is the Q&A show. And you can drop us questions on the Q&A show or join the Stack Your Points Discord. Link's always in the description. Use the podcast questions channel on the Discord. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Hopefully it'll be a little bit less downer. My apologies on that one, but wheels got to break. And we got to break it with people on it. So with that, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.